Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Nut Allergy Podcast. My name is Mick. I'm creating Mick's Got No Nuts, a company dedicated to making totally peanut and tree nut free protein bars made in a dedicated peanut free and tree nut free facility. On this show, I ask people in our nut allergy community their stories, their perspectives, their experiences dealing with their nut allergies or someone in their life with nut allergies. Today, I am joined by Emily. Emily, thank you for joining me. Do you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Hi, thanks, Nick. Yeah, absolutely. My name's Emily. I live in Massachusetts. We're going to call me in my early 40s. I have an 8-year-old son who has nut allergies, amongst a few other allergies. I also have a 2.5-year-old daughter, but she has no allergies. And I grew up with a mother that has nut allergies.
Oh, okay. So it runs in the family a little bit, but it
Sure
skipped over
does.
you. It skipped over you.
Yes, not my sister, but me.
Oh, wait, your sister has nut allergies too.
She didn't actually get the nut allergies, but she has some of the other allergies.
Oh, really? Okay, so it went your mother with the nut allergy skipped you, and your 8-year-old son you said has a nut allergy,
Yes,
but not your 2-year-old daughter.
correct.
Correct. Okay. All right. Hey, we sometimes that could be good because you have a little bit of experience in the family
Yep.
dealing with nut allergies or just allergies in general, and it's not a
Hmm.
total whiplash of a shock
Yeah.
when these allergies are revealed. So, do you mind kind of telling me the story of how your son first discovered he had a nut allergy?
So he, um, at 2 or 3 months old, we're gonna say, I nursed him
Okay.
exclusively.
Okay.
Um, Very early on, had terrible skin. He had eczema, which is hereditary, which runs in my family and my husband's family. So we weren't shocked to have a baby with eczema. He had what they originally said was cradle cap, basically from head to toe, which is actually a thing. Who knew? Um, and then it kind of didn't go away, and it wasn't really getting exponentially better, like they said with the cradle cap. After those first couple months, it's kind of supposed to just, go away. It, peels off or whatever, and it's done. So we ended up before he was 6 months old. We had seen several dermatologists who all gave very great advice about how to make it go away, with the steroid creams and the oils and the ointments and all the stuff. And we did everything they said. And what I kept saying to them was, it's great, things are getting better, but then when we're off these steroids and it all comes back, then what? And I was saying from the beginning, it has to be some type of allergy because this
Mm.
is like more than just eczema. And the dermatologist said, we'll do the whatever it was, the month or the 2 weeks of the treatment, and then you slowly, it was like high dose crazy oils that we were like rubbing all over him and stuff. And then they said when you taper off of it and when he's completely off, you wait 2 weeks and then you see what his skin looks like. Well, it looked bad.
Even after the
It
two
didn't look
weeks.
it didn't look
Okay.
quite as bad as it had going in, but it didn't look great. So off to the allergist we went, around between 6 and 7 months. And the allergist who we love, he's out of Boston. He does a lot of research. He works with primarily kids under the age of 4, specifically with food allergies. And he said, we're going to test him, but from everything you're telling me, it doesn't really sound like it's food related. So they tested
Mm.
him for dogs and cats and dust mites. And the allergist was like, and we'll throw peanuts in there too.
Just what the hell? Yeah.
Right. So the only thing, and so at this point, he hadn't eaten nuts yet because he was like just 6 months old, and we did baby led weaning, so we weren't giving him food before 6 months. He had some food, but he hadn't had nuts yet. And so the peanuts was the only thing of all the things they tested him for that came back positive.
Mm.
So I stopped eating. We didn't feed him peanuts. I stopped eating nuts. Stopped eating just peanuts, and then it didn't clear up. It maybe got a
Mm.
little bit better, but didn't clear all the way up. So we did from the time he was 6 to 10 months. We had, I think, 3 rounds of seeing the allergist because things kept not clearing up until we finally figured out everything that he was allergic to and were able to kind of get him back to a baseline.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. So I'm not super familiar with eczema, but after a little bit, you kind of had the inclination that maybe this wasn't only eczema, that might be something else. And when you got it tested, eventually tested for these allergies, peanuts came back positive. So was it the peanuts, and then is your son allergic to tree nuts as well?
So he's allergic to peanuts. At diagnosis, we'll say 10 months. He was allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, eggs, dairy, and sesame.
Okay, quite a bit. And so, and
all the things that I was eating most, probably.
Oh no! So eggs are gone to the house. Sesame's gone to the house. We'll talk about that in a second. But so your son's allergic to all of these, and I assume pretty severely. They were.
Yes.
And was that the reason that his skin did not get better? Was because he was constantly exposed? Really? So.
Yes.
Was it just through maybe this is my ignorance, but is it these foods are airborne, and your son was constantly on the skin getting hit by, or he was consuming eggs, he was consuming sesame or dairy?
So he was not actually consuming tons and tons of it on his own because he was really young and wasn't, like at that age, they're just not consuming a lot. But I was eating it and I was nursing him, so he was getting it that way. And then also potentially on his already eczema, they call broken skin. So potentially being exposed to it through his broken skin.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
There's a lot of... Good.
I can say, wow, that's super interesting. This is very new to me.
So there's a lot of scientific research based on how people end up with allergies, right? And nobody really knows the reason why. Some people are potentially born with allergies. Some people, my mom, all of her allergies, she was in her 20s, the first time she was allergic to anything. And there's a lot of research with like scientific fact research suggesting that you can become allergic to things when they're introduced into your body, not through your mouth. So through broken skin, essentially, right? So like potentially, other people's hands or my hands touching his eczema skin with food proteins on them. And then your body sees these food proteins as like a danger, I don't know what this is. So fights it and you become allergic to it. Again, nobody knows if he was born with these allergies or if, whatever, anybody really, there's no way to know. But there is a lot of research surrounding not into your digestive system introduction to food.
Yeah, that's super. This is new to me. So your son got diagnosed with all these allergies at, you said 10 months. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Roughly.
I would say between like 7 and 10 months, the whole process.
Okay. So how did your lives change immediately after that diagnosis?
We took 90% of the allergens out of the house for that, at least in the beginning. I would say the only thing we didn't take out completely was dairy. Okay. And primarily because my husband is a milk drinker.
Okay. He's like, I can't do it. I can't separate with the milk. Yeah.
Right, which was fine. It was up on the high shelf in the fridge. My son obviously could not. He's tall, but he's not that tall. Couldn't reach it. But I stopped consuming everything because I was nursing.
Yes, makes sense.
There's a lot of back and forth about that. Some people suggest that you should continue eating the foods when you're nursing. Some people think you shouldn't, and there's just a lot of back and forth about that. We really trusted our allergist who suggested that complete and total not exposure to any of his allergens was his best bet of potentially outgrowing any of them. So that's what we did.
So when your son, obviously this is around the year or so, your son's starting to grow up, maybe he starts actually being able to have conversations, 3 to 5 years old ish. How did you kind of approach teaching him about allergies at such a young age? About, hey, you got to look out for this stuff.
So he always knew.
You always knew.
We always talked about it around him. We always talked about it to him. We started labeling things. His name is Keith. We started labeling things as Keith.
Keith?
Yes.
Keith. Okay, Keith.
So
my man Keith.
Yes. We started labeling things as Keith friendly.
Okay.
Because safe and unsafe sounded scary for a little kid.
Yeah.
Even though that's true. So which turned into KF. So things were labeled with KF.
I like
as he got a little bit older, things that were safe for him, I bought like a roll of 500 neon orange smiley face stickers. So he knew if that sticker was on something, then it was safe for him. I would say probably sometime around when he was 3-ish, we were sitting around, my sister was visiting from out of town, and we were talking about his allergies and like updating and things like that. And we were talking about what he was allergic to, and he just rattled off what he was allergic to.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at him and was like, I don't think I knew that you knew to say those words, but great.
I'm confusingly proud of you right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And, we had always talked to him about it, and we had, always, it was our biggest thing when he was younger was you don't eat things off the floor, which is totally common for a 12-month-old to like walk by and see something and pick it up off the floor and just pop it in their mouth because why not?
That looks
and
good.
then right, and then beyond that, it was you only take food from mom or dad.
Oh,
you're not taking food from anyone else. And then there was a point where, like, my parents are very local. There was a point where he knew he could take things from my parents. And then again, my in-laws are a little bit further away, so we didn't see them as often, so it took a little bit longer, and things then became okay. But he also questioned adults. I mean, even still to this day, he'll look at not as much me, but he'll look at me or his dad and say, "But can I have that?"
Mm-hmm. What is Keith's severity of his nut allergies in particular? So is it like he can't even be in the same room? It's just he's got to eat it. What's kind of his severity? What's his tolerance there?
So fortunately, knock on wood, we have done a really good job of keeping him unexposed. And most of these nuts he never actually consumed, which I know isn't necessarily the correct protocol for testing, but that's what worked for us and for him in the situation that he was going through. And so I would suggest that he doesn't have an airborne reaction because he's certainly been in rooms where there are nuts and it's not been a problem. We've been very careful in that he's not touching them. So I'm not quite sure if he would have a reaction from touching them. And he's definitely not consumed them, though he has over the years passed oral food challenges in the doctor's office for almonds and walnuts and pecans.
So tell me about those food challenges a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So it's relatively the same from what I can tell from the allergy community wherever you are located. Because we're in Boston, we went into Boston. That's where our allergist is. We went into Boston, into the office early in the morning, and they over in Boston they tell us, pack like you're flying to California. So you bring all the toys and the extra clothes and everything. I do think we're lucky that here the hospital provided the food. So we didn't have to make it, though I think the more typical situation is that you're required to bring whatever the food is that you're challenging.
Mm-hmm.
You get in, you do, like, they do his vitals. When he was younger, I think was just in a diaper. As he was older, he was just like in shorts or something like that. Um, and then it's small amount of the food every 15 minutes with an increase over a period of, I think it was 6 doses, they call it. So over like an hour and a half or whatever every 15 minutes. And after each time, the nurse comes in and checks the vitals and looks him over. And then he's allowed to like be in the space and play and, watch a screen or whatever, but he's not allowed to eat anything else.
Okay.
During that time,
Mm-hmm.
they ask you to come in hungry so that the child is more likely to eat whatever it is that you're offering them. You're not typically allowed to alter the food dramatically. So you can sometimes, depending on what it is, like you can add it to something or like smear it on a cracker or something like that. But for the most part, they kind of want you eating straight up. And then after you've had all the doses, there's a 2-hour like observation period where then the dog is coming to say hello. That when during that time, I think it was every half hour, they just check his vitals again and look him over, ask, when he was older, asking him questions, how he felt, stuff like that. We were fortunate to pass. We have been fortunate to pass all of the challenges that we've done.
Nice.
So
excellent.
After, it's about 4 hours total in the hospital.
Okay.
And then after that, you are assuming that there's no other type of reaction, you're cleared. When you go home, I believe it's 7 days. They want you eating like the max of whatever, depending on what it is. They want you eating like the max dose for 7 days. And then they tell you to keep it in their diet 3 to 5 times a week for like a considerable period of time. And then, it's been probably 4 years at this point, and we were just at the allergist, and they just want to make sure that he's like eating it once a week. More than that would be great, but at least once a week.
And you said he passed. Define, what does passed mean? Can you define that?
So passed means that he went through this challenge in the office where over the hour and a half, I think that the last dose of the nut was 2 tablespoons of nut butter, but maybe I'm wrong because that seems like a lot. And it's definitely age and weight based to like the amounts that you're getting. So, but whatever the amount they decided, he consumed that, had no reaction during the process, and then for those 2 hours after, he had no reactions of any sort. So they consider it a pass. You leave the hospital, the doctor, whatever, and then once you make it through those 5 to 7 days at home of eating it every day, then you're like in the clear basically. But they want you to keep eating it.
And remind me how old your son was when he quote unquote passed.
So he passed. Almonds was the first that he passed, right around 4.
Okay. And that's right. That you said that you recently went to your allergist and just confirmed 4-year checkup. I think that's what you might have mentioned.
No, so we go. He does blood work yearly.
Oh, okay.
And then the doctor looks over the blood work, and the last couple of years of blood work hadn't changed dramatically, so we didn't go into the office. But because we hadn't been there, I think it was probably like 3.5, 4 years since we had been there. We went in this year, and they do the skin testing.
Okay, and everything's looking pretty much the same. You said, since that last challenge 4 years ago, nothing's gotten worse.
We haven't added any allergies. No. He now is allergic to peanuts, all the tree nuts except almonds, walnuts, and pecans.
Okay.
And he early on cleared sesame and also cleared dairy later on.
Oh, I'm sure your husband's happy about that one.
Yes.
Well, okay, good. That's, the challenge is very interesting to me because I grew up with a nut allergy as well, and I don't think I've ever even heard of a nut allergy challenge until like maybe 4 months ago. So
yeah.
That's super interesting to me. Now, knock on wood, obviously, but has Keith have had any major reactions outside of the controlled environment at the hospital?
He actually didn't have any reactions inside the controlled environment
That's
of the
right. That's right. That's
hospital.
right. You passed it.
Um,
Yes.
yes. And I would say no. Knock on wood,
Okay.
he has
Knock
not.
on wood. Good. That's excellent.
Since everything, like since we figured out what he's allergic to, and his reactions were small, I would say, mostly skin based, but also, he wasn't at a point where he was consuming handfuls of nuts. He was real young.
Yeah.
So he
Yes.
never really ate a ton of any of his allergens.
Okay. Now, what do you keep around the house, maybe medication wise?
We have EpiPens,
Yep.
and we also have Zyrtec
Okay. Yep.
and a topical, like prescription strength cortisone.
Okay. Gotcha. And
Which
I
the cortisone is more of a eczema maintenance
yeah.
thing than an allergy thing.
Gotcha. And I heard recently about, I think it's called Zolair or something like that, where it's a
Yes.
nasal spray. Uh, that's a
No.
pretty neat. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So Neffy
Neffy, sorry, Neffy.
is a nasal
There's
spray,
so many new
but
things now. Yeah.
Xolair is the shot,
Okay. Yes. Yes. Thank you for. So
which
you're the
is
expert.
not an epinephrine shot. It's a different thing.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
telling you. I'm telling you. I've learned so much. Even though I had a nut allergy, I'm learning so much that I just never even heard about when I was growing up. So that's good. Okay.
So
So
Neffy is new,
the Neffy's new. Yes. The nasal spray is
which is the
new.
nasal inhaled epinephrine. So it's an
Yes.
EpiPen. It's just a different delivery system.
Probably a little nicer than getting the EpiPen, having to stab your leg, which knock on wood, also I've never had to do. So EpiPen, Zyrtec, and then the cortisone for potentially the eczema. So I like to ask this question in this way. If I did not have a nut allergy and I had to go grab a quick snack, 100 calories, 150 calories, I would go for trail mix. That looks amazing. It looks very tasty, but obviously we can't have that. What is your
Right.
son like for quick snacks?
He is definitely a snacker. There was a period of time where he really enjoyed like um, Slim Jims.
Yeah, kind of like beef jerky-ish,
but not a what?
like the beef jerky sort of meat stick.
Yes, like
Yeah,
a meat stick, a meat stick.
yeah,
And there were a couple brands that were safe for him that were more actual real food than a Slim Jim, which I'm pretty sure is chemicals and
yeah,
predominantly chemicals.
meat. Yeah,
Right. So there are a couple like more natural ones. He's not really so much into those these days. I did find a protein bar that he can have. So he does eat those. Sometimes he's a sports kid, so we needed to find like something that he
yeah, always on the move.
eat.
Yeah, always moving.
Yes.
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 Now, will he eat, or will you let him eat products that have a may contain peanuts or tree nuts label on them?
So I am a food allergy mom, and food allergy moms might be better researchers than FBI. So it's true.
Yeah.
So there's no regulation surrounding that language because it's all
Correct.
voluntary.
Correct.
So may contain could potentially be the same thing as shared equipment. It could
Yep.
potentially be the same thing as shared facility, or it could truly mean may contain, right?
Yes.
So would I let him eat something that actually may contain? No.
Mm-hmm.
Our allergist was very clear that strict avoidance was our best route, so that's what we do. However, there are a few things that he does eat safely that do have language on them about warnings about nuts on some level.
Yes, and if it's made in a shared facility, maybe you'd let Keith eat it.
So we are okay with a shared facility if I've spoken to the manufacturer and they tell me that the lines are not shared, and that they tell me that the lines are clean.
Okay.
There are a couple companies that, in general, the food allergy community trusts,
Yep.
that does share things but has serious cleaning protocols.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, and the may contain statement, the process and facility statement, that one always has boggled my mind. That the fact that it's not regulated, like you're saying, and that it's more just a hey, just in case we don't want any legal action, we're gonna slap it on
Right.
there. Take that with
Right.
what you will, and then we reach out to these companies, and they probably most of the time give us very vague responses, and so like that does not help at all.
Right.
Um, so hence part of the problem I'm trying to solve. But and you mentioned that your son is very athletic, I assume. What kind of sports does he play?
He plays soccer, basketball, and flag football.
Nice, nice. So he'll need protein bars in the future. I'm gonna
Yes.
count on that. Um, so how do you handle going out to eat at a restaurant, for example?
So we don't go out to eat a ton,
Okay.
but I would also suggest that even if we didn't have a child with food allergies, we wouldn't go out to eat a ton either.
No.
Um, am I allowed to say like names of restaurants?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay. So as a food allergy family, we have found that Chipotle is a very safe
Mm,
option for him.
okay.
They just don't have nuts in the facilities at all
Yeah. Yeah.
in the building. It's not an ingredient they use.
Hmm.
They're also very good for people that have other allergies. They're very good with cleaning and getting new things and stuff like that. So that's kind of that's his fast food option.
Okay.
We don't do shared fryers or anything like that. And I mean, so we don't do like McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's. I think he's eaten a Wendy's Frosty once or twice, but otherwise, Chipotle is the only thing we do as far as like fast food stuff.
Hmm.
And then otherwise, for restaurants, I have found most pizza places to be safe for him.
Okay.
Most of them don't have nuts. A lot of them that do have nuts, it's like in prepackaged desserts that
Mm.
aren't that that they
Yeah.
don't make there or anything like
Yeah.
that. Um, and I have found that anywhere the scratch kitchen
Okay. Yeah.
can
Yeah. Yeah.
usually accommodate his allergies. It's a little harder for us with the egg allergy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like we don't go out to breakfast,
Hmm.
uh, but we have a couple local
Yeah.
places that are scratch kitchens that we know that you know like he's a steak tips kid, so or a
Yes.
burger kid, and they'll make a burger for him in a pan on the grill instead of
Yeah.
right on the grill where everything goes and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
have found a lot of restaurants to be, I mean, very understanding, of course, with the nut allergy because everybody understands that, and a lot of places just don't have nuts.
Correct. Yeah. And I assume that
Or
you when you talk to them beforehand, just like, hey, my
yeah,
son has a nut allergy. Okay, yeah.
yeah,
And other allergies as well. Yes.
yeah,
And it sounds like you have kind of in your mind you have the spots where you know are safe, not safe.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and what do you do when you travel?
Um, so I'm in a food allergy mom group on Facebook, which
Yep.
is incredibly helpful. It's an international group of like a bazillion moms.
Yeah, and I
So
love that. I love it.
I've
Being a mom
posted
myself.
before.
Yeah.
We went. Yes, yes, of course, of course. We went to visit my sister who lives in another state, and I posted in the group, "This is where we're going. Anybody, find safe places." And immediately I had two or three people. Oh, we
That's
live right
awesome.
near there. These are the places we go to. Stuff like that.
That is awesome.
But I spend a lot of time talking to restaurants and manufacturers and stuff, and it's easy for me to tell very quickly.
Yeah.
Um, if it's going to be somewhere safe for him. And like I said, we do look for the smaller places and the scratch kitchen type places.
Yes.
In a scratch kitchen, it's very easy usually for a restaurant to make it work.
Yeah, 100%. And I love the support in this community. Something I didn't know either. And as I started this, I started looking for groups of community all congregated together. And I mean, it is unbelievable the amount of support and love in these sort of communities, and I especially for moms probably.
Yeah.
You gotta look out for your little ones, because I mean that it's really it's not fun, but it's really satisfying that people take this as seriously as I knew they would. And seeing you all in one place and communicating is just really, really reassuring for me. Now, how long have you been in these sorts of groups? Is this something new you found, or you've always kind of relied on them?
So this is something that I found when I found out my son had food allergies.
Okay, so years. And it's
Yes.
okay, and it's always been a sort of a cornerstone of how you look for options. So, okay, great. So,
Yeah, it's a great group, and you can post a picture of something and say, a box of whatever from the supermarket, and it's like, I'm in the supermarket. Has anybody with a kid with nut and egg allergies ever eaten this? And it's like, yes, or no, whatever the case may be.
nice. Yeah, I love that. Um, so have you had any negative run-ins with people that have maybe like a server at a restaurant was being really rude, or people just don't quite understand and you have to like, no, please do not serve this to my son, or whatever it may be? Any negative experiences like that?
Um, no, I don't
No, that's
know.
good. That's good. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I know that I interviewed especially one gentleman who had a nut allergy his entire life, and he's definitely noticed kind of a shift in allergy awareness. And I'm sure your mother
yeah,
probably
for
has
sure.
same
Yeah,
sort of idea where no one really knew about nut allergies maybe
right,
20, 30 years ago, and now all of a sudden it's
right.
it's it's practically mainstream. Um,
Yeah.
and I think when in the time of your son, it's probably been mainstream enough where it's not super abnormal to say, hey, my 1-year-old has a nut allergy. So that I think that
Yeah.
that's fortunate in that regard, that you've never really had to
Mhm.
overcome maybe those obstacles, but maybe like your mom had, for example. Did your mom ever sit
Yeah.
your son down, Keith, and be like, "Let me tell you what it's like to live with a nut allergy," like a pseudo
Um,
professor?
no, no, but I think that we've kind of just all been in it together,
Yeah,
and she's been a great help in like
yeah,
substituting things in recipes and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. And what do you kind of wish? Now I'm going to kind of back up a little bit and ask kind of a more high level question, but is there anything that you wish more people understood about nut allergies? It could be individuals, it could be corporations, anything that you wish more awareness was around.
I I would say that I wish people didn't joke about it. I
Mm,
think that or people don't necessarily realize how serious it can be. And it would be nice, I think the school system takes it very seriously. I
yes.
think, for the most part, in my experience, restaurants have taken it very seriously. I've had manufacturers come back to me and say, your kids shouldn't eat this product,
Hmm.
um, which I appreciate. I'd rather somebody say that to me than like
Yeah.
BS around it, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that overall, I just think that in my life, I haven't had to deal with a ton of jokes about it, but I've seen them out there. And, the people that say, well, that's why I have an EpiPen, so I can use this peanut butter cup. And it's like, well, that's not why you have an EpiPen. You have an EpiPen in case you eat the peanut butter
Yeah.
cup, not so you can eat the peanut butter cup.
That would be quite the story. Every time you have a bite, you have to. Sorry, that's funny.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's a good point. So at school, how is it at school for your
So
son?
he's been in school since he was a year and a half old. The preschool that he went to was nut free. So as far as the nut
Oh,
allergies, that wasn't a problem. I mean, the other allergies were, around him then. But, again, we taught him at a very early age that you just don't touch other people's food and you don't take food from
yeah.
other people.
Yes. Yes.
So going into kindergarten at his elementary school, the policy is if there's a kid with a nut allergy, the classroom is nut free. So the kids can't bring in snacks with nuts. but the cafeteria is not nut-free, though the cafeteria does not serve nuts. So kids can bring like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to lunch, but the option from the school is sun butter. And they do have an allergy table where he sat for the first couple months of kindergarten. They suggested he sit there so that the monitors in the cafeteria got to know him. But he had done 2 months of camp prior to kindergarten that was not nut-free. And again, he just knew that you don't touch other people's food,
Yes.
And so he after the first couple months of kindergarten, he sits wherever he wherever he can in the cafeteria with whoever.
Yeah. And that's awesome to hear that it sounds like Keith really has a grasp of it. And it sounds like you fully trust him to at least be aware and look out for himself. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. I mean, he's still only 8, and sometimes I have to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
But he is very cautious and very aware and very unlikely to eat something that he doesn't know what it is.
Yes. But are we still using the orange KF labels?
We definitely we now do more like KF with a circle and a line through it if it's something he can't have, than labeling the things he can have, because most of the stuff that's here he can have. And also, he's older now, so he can recognize, if not read, what things are. Yeah. He still wouldn't, even in the house, he still wouldn't pick something up that he didn't recognize and eat it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now I'm gonna ask you one final question here, and I've really enjoyed our conversation, Emily. So let's picture a hypothetical scenario where someone kind of in your boat, very young child, maybe less than a year old, there's a very good chance that he has a nut allergy. Let's just say a parent gave him like a small bite of peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Something's going on. What do you recommend the parent do as soon as that happens?
In the moment, like as far as seeking medical attention, or what happens
so like
once you find
parents
out
never, so like parents never doesn't even barely knows what an allergy is. Their son is, or their daughter is having some sort of reaction. Talk to me about what you would do at that moment, and then potentially what you would do following that moment when, say, that allergy was diagnosed.
So to me, that's a call to 911.
Okay.
If you're looking at a kid who has eaten something that they've not eaten before, only eaten or once or twice before, and, they're covered in hives, or they're vomiting, or they're doing weird things with their tongue in their mouth or something like that. And yeah, I mean, I just think better safe than sorry with a kid, especially a
100%.
kid that can't voice their feel, can't
100%.
say I don't feel well, or can't say my throat feels itchy or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. And then let's just say you do get it checked out. It comes back out as an allergy diagnosis. When you go back home, what would you instruct that parent to do? You talked about how you got rid of all the foods in your house. Anything else that you might recommend as well?
I think that, and not to, at the risk of sounding whatever you want to call it, I think that a lot of the guilt falls on the mothers, and I would be willing to bet that, I mean, me included, and this is not the kind of person I am, I cried, for a half a day, and then put my big girl pants on and got over it. And, there's the mom guilt of, did I do this to my child? No, you did not do this to your child. And your child is going to be okay, and you're going to be okay. And, we have gone to the zoo, we've gone to a baseball game, we've gone to a football game, we've gone to the park, we've gone to the birthday parties. You can do all of those things. It just looks a little different.
Yeah.
I'm up at 3:00 packing lunch and making cupcakes so that we can go to the birthday party, whereas the other mom isn't. But of course, that's what I'm doing so that my kid can be a part.
100%. It's just a new perspective on, hey, I'm just going to pay attention a little bit more in my surroundings, right? Yeah.
And I also highly recommend, getting online and finding other people that are in your boat.
Yes. And it sounds like that these sort of online groups have been instrumental in how you navigate areas that you're not as familiar with. And it sounds like that
it's
is
so helpful. And it's helpful to have other people that just understand and are in the same boat as you. And it's also helpful to not have to reinvent the wheel and to be able to get on and post this picture of these French toast sticks and say, can my kid eat these? Before I call the company, or while I'm waiting for this giant conglomerate to call me back, can like 6 of you real people with real children with real nut allergies say to me that your kid eats these? And you know what? If you can, I'm going to say mine can too.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation, Emily. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. If anyone has any questions for Emily, you can either post them in the comment section of this video, or Emily can be found on Facebook, right? Facebook, Emily Landry. Am I pronouncing that correctly? If anyone has any questions for you, and then also don't forget the nut allergy support groups on Facebook, especially because those are extremely informative, and you have so many resources at your disposal. But anyway, Emily, thank you so much for joining me, and we will be in touch soon.
Thank you. Sounds good.